Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is the Manchester United versus Partizan Belgrade Europa League preview, and a very, very interesting game. I know some people don't like the Europa League. I tell you what, enjoy it. I didn't like it, but I've got a real concern that we won't be in it next season. So we need to do well in this league. I mean, what's the better chance of getting into the Europa League? Well, is probably winning it, which gets us into the Champions League. So look, very interesting game. For two reasons, really. One, I think we've got to get a result. And two, I think that, are we going to play in a different way against a team that will sit deep? And also three, the context of the group is very, very interesting at the moment. Let me just start off with that. The way things stand at the moment, Astana aren't going anywhere. They're bottom. They'll stay bottom. AZ Alkmaar got 2 points. We've got 4 points. And Partizan Belgrade have got 4 points because we've both beaten Astana. AZ Alkmaar will beat Astana, so they'll go up to 5 points. So the context of this group is very important. If United were to win in Belgrade, we'd go up to 7, AZ Alkmaar would be on 5, and obviously Partizan would be on 4. And I think that would put us in a very strong position with home games to come against Partizan and AZ Alkmaar. Of course, if we lose, then we would drop to 3rd. We'd be on 4 points, AZ Alkmaar would be on 5, and Partizan would be on 7. If we draw, everyone's going to be on 5 points apart from Astana. So very, very big game in the context of the group. And I think that United, a very big game in the way that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to line us up as well. We'll talk about Partizan in a minute because I think they're very interesting. But one thing that is important to consider is they are 5th in their league at the moment, in the Serbian league, and that Red Star Belgrade are top, and they got smashed by Spurs last night. Spurs not doing very well in the Premier League. United not doing very well in the Premier League. We should win. That's too logical, isn't it? But we should win. Also, very serious, their last couple of games have been behind closed doors because of accusations of racism. Of course, we operate in that sad world at the moment. And obviously Manchester United do have a number of black players playing for the club. Let's hope we're not going to see that. Let's hope we're not going to see that because the world is watching, aren't they? Especially when Manchester United play. So hard to tell what sort of atmosphere is going to be there, but hope intimidating, hostile. Fine. We don't want to see repeats of what we saw in Bulgaria, and it is a concern. So let's hope that we don't see that. But on the football, we focus on the football, and how we line up in this game is going to be very interesting, like I say. We do have a number of injuries. Dalot is out. Twansibi is highly likely to be out. Matic is out. Luke Shaw is out. Paul Pogba is out. So they're 5 non-youth players who you would expect to play in this game and give first teamers a rest. And remember, this is difficult times for Manchester United. Good points against Liverpool, played a very different way, put an extra defender in and tried to hit them on the break, and it worked well. You can't play that against Partizan. They're going to sit very deep. They actually beat Red Star Belgrade, who were top of the league, 2-0 a couple of weeks ago by being very compact, very patient and hurting them when they got the ball. These are the sort of teams United don't do well against. So I'm excited for this game. I'm excited for the Norwich game because these are two teams that are not going to let us sit deep and hit them on the break. They're going to sit deep themselves. This is the blueprint that has caused Ole so many problems going back to March. So the next 2 games for United, really, really important to see how we react. I think we will see the 4-2-3-1 again. But the problem is, how does he work players in to give them a rest for Norwich? Because Thursday night and then playing on Sunday, it's a short turnaround. And it's away as well. And Norwich is more important than Partizan. I'm sorry, if we lose to Partizan, we're in trouble in the Europa League. But if he loses to Norwich, we could be in the bottom 3 or very close to it. So Norwich is the priority. He's got to keep fresh legs. Norwich have had all week off. We need to keep some freshness, and I hope Ole's going to do that. But doing it is very difficult when you've got so many injuries. You could say, play Garner, play Gomez, play Chong, play Greenwood. If you chuck 4 young lads away against Partizan Belgrade in what could be a very hostile crowd against a team that is better than Astana and well organised, you might just be handing them 3 points. So he's got to be competitive, but he's also got to keep some players back. So I've kept that in mind. Now, one player is Jesse Lingard. Now, some would say he's been out for 8 months anyway. I mean, he's been out for a couple of weeks injured, but he's not done much in a shirt for 8 months, has he? He could come back into the equation. He could come back in the but or similarly, he could be more of a factor for Sunday, fresh legs. We'll have to wait and see. So I've gone with this team. I've got Romero in goal because I think he'll play Romero over De Gea. Wan-Bissaka and Young as the fullbacks. We have got no Dalot. We have got no Luke Shaw. The only other option is to play Brandon Williams, who I wouldn't mind seeing him play. I'd like to see Brandon Williams playing at left left-back. I just don't know whether he'd play him in a game like this, but I would. I think he looks really good. I think he looks better than Young. I would play him. Centre-backs, I think Rojo will play because I think at the weekend we'll play 2 at the back, so it'll be Lindelof and one other. He could play Lindelof instead of Maguire, but I've gone with Maguire because I think we'll have to deal with the high ball against Serbia a little bit, so I think he'll play him. Midfield, and I've gone Fred and McTominay. We have got no Matic, so who else do you play? We've got no Pogba, so who else is he going to play? James Garner in a game like this? I just don't see it. So I've gone Fred and McTominay, but you would expect Fred and McTominay to also have to play against Norwich as well. I've not played Pereira to give him a rest, and Mata obviously will come in. But the problem is playing Fred and McTominay. I mean, if one of those picks up an injury, who plays in the midfield on Saturday? We've got no Twansibi to play out of position. It's a problem. And this is a problem I think Ollie's got. I'd like to see Garner play, but do you play Garner in a game like this, which is not going to be straightforward? So he may have to play Fred and McTominay, and then with an eye on the weekend, if Pogba's not back, they'll have to play again. So it's difficult. And then we've got Chelsea away on the Wednesday, and if Pogba's not back for that, are you going to go and play Garner away against Chelsea? You know, it's difficult. It's really difficult how he... And again, I hate to keep saying this, but Ollie's owning it now. The right players weren't there, so I didn't buy a midfielder. Well, there was. Partey was available for 43 million. Bruno Fernandes was available for 55 million. You know, there were midfielders out there that we didn't go and get despite the money being there. And now, as I said last night and the night before and on Liverpool, we are going to continually suffer this season because we haven't got enough quality or depth in the midfield. And we'll see it. We're going to see it on Thursday in Serbia. We're going to see it at the weekend. We're having to play tired players who are going to pick up muscle injuries because we haven't got enough midfielders. So, I mean, I don't know how you construct a midfield without playing Fred and McTominay. Ideally, you want them rested and fresh for the game against Norwich, but I can't see how we construct a midfield. We have no Matic. We have no Pogba. You know, Pereira you could play, but surely he needs a rest. So, you know, so there we go. I think it will be that midfield 3. And then up front, I've gone with 2 young lads. I've gone with Greenwood and I've gone with Chong because if they're ready, they're ready. And you've got to give James and Rashford a rest. They look very tired against Liverpool. Both of them have been involved in international games. We've got a massive game on Sunday. I think you've got to give Rashford and James a rest. So it's got to be Chong and Greenwood, or maybe Gomez comes in. And I would play Martial because I think Martial doesn't need rest. Martial needs games. And I expect Martial to be a little bit rusty, but we need to get some game time into Martial's legs. And this will be the same thing with Pogba when he comes back. He ain't just going to drop in and be prime Pogba. You've got to work him back. So that's how I think United will line up in this game. Could be totally wrong. He might play Garner in the midfield. He might play Brandon Williams at left back. He probably will play Rashford, which I think is a silly thing to do. But Norwich is the priority at the moment. We've got to beat Norwich on Sunday. So knackering your first team on Thursday in Serbia, I don't think is a good idea. But the amount of injuries we've got at the moment, and I don't think they're significant injuries. I'm not making excuses here. We should have spent money on the midfield in the summer. We didn't do it. We should have bought another attacker in the summer. We didn't do it. We're waiting for right players whilst writing off a season and jeopardising European football next season. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So it's not an excuse, but the problem is these players that I don't think are good enough anyway, the Matic's and the Lingards, they're not fit. You know, Luke Shaw's not fit. Paul Pogba's not fit. So we can't... Dalot is not fit. So we can't rotate anyway. The rotation players are not fit. So we got to go with our first team. What do I think is going to happen in this game? I think it's going to be very interesting, as I said. I'm looking forward to it. And remember, it's a 6 o'clock kickoff as well, UK time. So 5 to 6, actually. I think that Partizan Belgrade are better than Astana, and obviously we saw what happened at Old Trafford against the team that just sits back against us. We really struggled. At some point, something's got to give. We've got to play against the team that sits back and start breaking them down. Now, Partizan will be far more organised than Astana, and I think they'll be more of a threat on the break. So I'm going to predict a score draw in this game. I'm going to go with 1-1. I think that that would be a good point for us. I think the reality is, as long as we don't lose, we stay on track to go through the group. And I don't think getting through this group is as routine as we thought it was going to be. We're going to have to beat Partizan and AZ Alkmaar at Old Trafford. So realistically, a good point in Holland and a good point in Serbia. And I think we'll be on track to get out of the group. If we lose, pressure's on, because not only is it a loss in the Europa League, it's another loss for Ollie going into that huge game on Sunday. So I think it will be a draw. I think Partizan will sit back. I think United will sort of try and be defensive but try and impose themselves, and I think it will be quite an equal game, a little bit a little bit like the Astana game in many ways, but we need to be a little bit careful. I don't know a lot about Partizan. They've got a striker called Umar Sadiq who scored a couple of goals against Astana. Quick, powerful sort of striker, so he could cause us some problems. But they're an organised team, and they're a step up from Astana. They're not. I don't think they're quite as good as AZ Alkmaar, but they're certainly a step up. I think they got a draw against AZ Alkmaar, didn't they, in Partizan? But I think Alkmaar may have gone down to 10 men, if I remember correctly. So, look, Manchester United should be winning this game, but the Manchester United we've got at the moment is probably not capable of doing that, and that's the interesting side to it. But the big thing for me is how we're going to line up and how we're going to approach this game. At some point, Ollie's got to break the wheel, as ironic as that sounds. He's got to deal with teams like Partizan Belgrade, like Newcastle, like West Ham, like Norwich, like Crystal Palace. These teams that know, and the thing is, traditionally, teams would do this, and they do it against Man City and Liverpool. They do it against the big teams. They'll keep themselves compact. They'll get people behind the ball when they've not got the ball, and they'll look to break quick on when they do get the ball. It's the United tactic. It's what we did against Liverpool. We can't be... I heard a United fan the other day saying, all these teams are hard to beat because they sit back against us. And I'm like, do you want a piece of hypocrite pie? It's nice and warm, because tell me a time when United this season, when we've won games, is not sit back and hit teams on the break. We did it against Leicester, we did it against Chelsea, we did it against Arsenal, and we did it against Liverpool. So teams are doing to us what we do to the big teams. We act like a Partizan or a Newcastle when we play the top six. We didn't used to, that's what we do. And what these teams do is do what they're doing for years. They'll sit back against us and they'll look to hurt us on the break if we make mistakes in possession. So an early goal would be nice, a good performance would be nice, but confidence is so difficult for United at the moment. It's a catch-22, because this team we're playing are going to be compact, they're going to be well organised, they're going to be physical. We are going to have a few players in there who are low in confidence, who are inexperienced, and have got a lot of pressure on them. So I can't see us winning. But what I would say is, if we did go and win, I think this result would be probably even more significant in many ways than going and beating Norwich, because Norwich lost 5-1 at home to Villa. So, Norwich are beatable. Defensively, they do ship a lot of goals. Going away in Europe with a mixture of your first team and your reserves and winning against Partizan would be, I think, a very, very significant thing. Is there any chance that he'll play the 5-3-2 again? I think if he does, it just shows coaching naivety. I think it's like, I found something that works. I'm going to do this now. I'm back at the wheel. It's such an overload to do that. I think whenever you play with three centre-backs, you are basically putting defence first, unless it's a really expansive way of doing it, which we see with Inter. I just don't see I'm not going to say he's not going to do it, but I just wouldn't do it. I think we've got to find a way of getting back to what he did in the first 3 months, which there is conversation about. I'm doing a bit of research about it myself. Those first 3 months, was it a 4-3-3 with a holding midfielder and 2 box to box, or was it still really a 4-2-3-1? We'll look into that in future shows, but there is a big argument that Ollie doesn't have a plan B, and he doesn't have the authority or coaching ability to break teams down. Well, that to me would be a challenge, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs to step up to that challenge. I said last night, I do like McTominay and I do like Fred. I think that they really do grind and work hard, but are they good enough in relation to how they move the ball? I mean, that's something that I'll be looking at over the next few games that they play. They've got to... You can't moan at Matic like I do, or Fellaini like I did, about how they basically just get the ball and knock a 5-yard pass sideways and then not scrutinise what Fred and McTominay are doing when they get the ball. You've got to move it fast. Ollie said it himself. You've got to take risks. And I think at times in the first half against Liverpool we did. We need to start seeing that. The hardest way to defend, and I've played as a defender, is when you come up against an opposition, and it works on bloody FIFA or Pro Evo as well, it's not rocket science. If you move the ball quick, then it's harder for a defensive side when they're defending to get everybody in place. If the ball moves quick, you make gaps. But United, traditionally, and it goes back to Van Gaal and Mourinho definitely, it was we move the ball slow. We move the ball too slow, and we don't want to take risks. And you do lose the ball when you take risks. I said this about Pereira at the weekend. He lost the ball more than anybody else, but he was man of the match. So, and it's that famous line, isn't it? we apparently pulled out of a deal for Bruno Fernandes despite scouting him loads, because one scout said that he loses possession quite a lot. He also scores a lot of goals and gets a lot of assists. So, risk taking. You're never going to find a player who is a creator who has 100% pass rate. His pass rate should be pretty shit because he's going to take risks. That's what it's all about. So yeah, I'm going to go with a score draw in this game. I think that Partizan will sit deep, like I say. They've not lost. They've only lost once in their last 9 home games, so they're very good at home. One of those was beating top of the league Red Star Belgrade in the derby. So I'm very interested to see how this game is going to go. Make sure you get your comments in below. Smash a like on the video, and also if you are interested in United, which I'm sure you are, I'll be doing episode 2 of my Manchester United FIFA career mode on That's Football. I'll drop you the link in the video description. You don't have to like FIFA to watch it. What I would say is, after 4 games, I've got 1 point less than Ollie did. So it's a bit of a car crash at the moment. This second stream is going to be games 4 to 8 in the league. So I need to get back on board. Otherwise, I'm going to get the sack before Ollie does. So you can give that a watch as well. Also, do subscribe to that channel. We're on 96,000 subscribers, so we're really close to 100k. And we're going to be doing Chelsea versus Ajax watch along this evening on that channel as well. So links in the video description. Make sure you get involved with that. Back again at 8 o'clock tonight on here. Straight after the Chelsea Ajax game, we'll be doing the normal 8 o'clock stream. Thanks for watching. Smash us a like. I'll speak to you all soon.